Welcome to the We Keep It Dirty podcast here live, where we'll talk about anything and everything I find interesting.
And today, I have a special guest, one of my dear friends, great person, Miss Daija Peeler. Daija, how are you doing?
What's up? I'm doing pretty good, feeling good, blessed, can't complain. God is good all the time, God is good.
Every day. That's it. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm glad I could get you on the podcast.
Yeah, no doubt.
Actually, when I started doing this, I had a list of names, and I had about 6 or 7 people. I was like, okay, first people that popped into my mind, and you were one of the names. So I was like, I'm going to get her on there eventually. Yeah, absolutely. And I was like, I'm going to get her on there eventually, but I've just been working my way through the list, trying to get everything, situated. But yeah. So milestone, guys. Well, if you are new to the podcast, or this is your first time tuning in, essentially this is how it goes. I'll ask her questions, she'll break down and discuss those questions in her own way, and that's how it goes. We just keep this thing rolling, baby. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Daija, tell the people, who is Daija Peeler?
Who is Daija Peeler? Dang, how do you even answer that question? I guess the first thing that comes to mind, of course, is I'm a child of God. I think it all starts there. And then I feel like, with that being said, I feel like I'm a writer. I love to write. I'm a creative at heart because, I love anything creative. Let's see. How else could I say who I am? Traveler. I like to travel a lot. I'm a music head. I know we go way back on some music, absolutely. So love me some music. I grew up with it, so I love music. But yeah, I think that's pretty much the gist of it. I can't really say anything other than that. Like, yeah, it don't get no better than that. So
that's it, no doubt. Hey, listen, and like you say, we go way back with the music.
Right.
Very, very informed on music. A lot of people, especially in our generation, our age, they don't know the oldies. And when we say
don't
oldies,
know nothing about it.
When we say oldies, we don't mean Usher.
Right.
We mean the oldies. The Goldie oldies.
Right.
So yeah, definitely some good conversations about music. All right. With that being said, Daija, how have you been lately? Like, just in all of your facets of life, mental space, job, all of that.
I've been good. I'll say that, so I was a reporter, and I recently left that job. That was something I had to pray through, though. But it was just it was taking a toll on me mentally and emotionally, and I really didn't have a lot of time, for myself, for my family, for God. And I was like, those are important to me.
Absolutely.
And I've refused to let a job get in the way of that. So I ended up leaving that job, and right now I'm just doing a little side gig, part-time, because I actually am back in school because I took a year gap to be a reporter. So I'm finishing up school. I'll graduate fall 2024. Woo!
Hey,
yeah, I know.
About.
Finally,
congratulations.
Right?
Shit, hey, we all on our own journey. So
Right.
Take your time.
So yeah, but but I'll definitely say it hasn't been easy because it's you kind of take that leap of faith and you trust God to kind of catch you, but faith is risky because it's you don't really know what's going to happen. It's kind of like you're venturing out into the unknown. And I know for me, I like familiarity. I like to be in control. And so for me to kind of take that leap of faith, it was wow, I'm really doing this. So, but overall, with that being said, mentally, emotionally, I've been good. But the only reason why is because of God. If it wasn't for Him, I probably would have lost my mind a long time ago. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's important that and everyone has their own relationship with God, right? I hear people all the time. It's mostly older people. You need to go to church to be, to be closer to God. And I'm I'm not denying that church is a great place to go if you want to be close to your God. But you don't have to go.
You don't.
As long as y'all have your own relationship with me and God, we talk all the time.
Right.
So it's just,
and that's all that matters at the end of the day, because you got a lot of people that go into church that don't know God.
They don't go to church for God. They go to church for the wrong reasons.
Right, that part. So
no reason for you to do it if you're not doing it for the right reasons.
That part. And I know for me personally, as far as me going to church, I go for the community. that's a big part of why I go. So
Absolutely. Right. Okay. Yeah, keep it going. Keep
Yeah.
it going. He's got you in his favor. You know that.
that part.
You know that. With
Amen.
that being said, now I know you talked about you said you was a reporter and that it was cutting into your your spirituality in your life. So but I know you also do a little art on the side, right? How has that been?
So I actually put the camera down for a minute.
Okay.
I haven't been doing photography. After the last exhibition that I had in May, that's when I was kind of like, I think I'm kind of done with this for now. And I think part of that is because like God is kind of changing like what I desire and kind of molding me into who He wants me to be. And so I don't really have a desire to do that. Now, I will say that I feel like eventually I'll get back into it, but it's not something that like I really desire to do. I think writing has really been like my creative outlet lately, like journaling.
Yeah.
And then I'm in the process of like starting a blog. So, just I think writing is like where I'm at with it. Like,
Okay, so you can excuse me, you can see yourself doing that in the long term?
oh yeah. Because I talk to like friends about this, and I feel like this goes for everybody. But I feel like ultimately, what God has called you to do, you could always look back at your childhood and see what you were drawn to, what you were doing, which will come into fruition whenever
Yeah.
you get older. And for me,
Absolutely.
it was writing. I was in speech contests and spelling bees and, all the things. I always loved to read, and I feel like I've just always been a wordsmith. So I feel like that's carrying over into my adult life where I love to write.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with that. I mean, a lot of people, we say we're confused, right? Or we're lost. We don't know where we're supposed to go, but we know exactly where we're supposed to go, man. It's where you went when you were a kid.
that part.
Little you knew more than old you knows
That
now.
part. That whole part.
But we just don't, we oftentimes get so caught up in trying to be what society says we
That
should be, or
part,
what
yep.
our parents or whoever, whoever you look up to. Oh, I want to be like that. Or I think we should.
Right.
But you don't sit down and say, what did little me like to do?
Right.
Once you figure that out, everything else is easy.
Right. That part.
So yeah, that's definitely a very, very true statement, and I'm currently figuring that part out myself. Absolutely. Wow. That's amazing. Well, so I know you said you've been, of course, getting into journaling and everything like that. So that's where you're like seeing your career head towards in the future.
I feel like I'm actually, I like to joke and say I've been going through a quarter life crisis because I don't, I really don't know what I want to do with my life, but I think that's a good place to be at because I don't have to have it figured out because He does. And with that being said, I do feel like I'll be in some sort of ministry.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know exactly what that'll look like, but I feel like career-wise, eventually I'll be in some sort of ministry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so ministry, so you could see like and I don't know. I'm almost positive they have it because they have every other job in the world, but like some type of like journalist for like a church or a minister, like something like that.
They have like Christian journalism. I don't know, Jay. I don't know.
I think that would be kind of
I
cool.
don't know yet. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we'll just have to see. Wherever God leads, that's where I go at this point.
That's it. Wherever He
I ain't
takes
about
you.
to stress myself out trying to figure it out.
Shit, it's stressful. It's very stressful. I know I'm there. Okay, well, I know you've talked about God, plenty times. We talked about, had these conversations a lot.
Right.
And I know that He's a big influence in your life, the biggest influence. So with that being said, what role does God play in your life and in all facets of your life?
Oh my goodness, God is everything. Number one, without a doubt. He's number one in my relationships. He's number one like in my career, like just overall. Like He's literally like my foundation for everything. And I just, when I build my foundation on Him, like I just kind of allow Him to lead the way. Yeah, that's really what role He plays. Like He's literally just everything. Like, He's my guide, He's my friend, He's my protector, He's my comfort. Like He's my everything.
Yeah.
Like He's in all facets of my life. And I actually was having a talk with my pastor the other day because, a lot of people like to talk about like, a triangle where like, God should be at the top and then everything else comes after that. And
Right.
he said, if you notice how like the triangle, God is at the top, but he gets the least amount of time, because it's like it gets bigger as it goes down. So he said, look at it as like a circle. God is in the center, and then everything else, like, like it'll kind of have like a ripple effect,
Yeah.
like where God will like kind of spill over into other areas of your life.
He's
So,
the radius. It starts with him and then it ripples out.
Right, that
so
part.
The creator, that's a great visual
right,
for how God represents us.
right.
And wow, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know and like just in like as far as like let's say emotionally, how does God support you?
Wow, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Emotionally, God gives me peace. Before I started to form my own relationship with God, because as a black children, we grow up in the church. And so, even though I grew up in the church, I was never really taught what it meant to like have your own relationship with God.
Yeah.
And so, once I kind of like tried to do things on my own, I was always like anxious and depressed. Like I was literally like sad all the time.
Yeah.
Because, I didn't really have like a rock. I didn't have anything firm to kind of build my life on. And, it was hard for me to be like, joyful because I felt like it could be taken away from me at any time. So it's easier to be sad because that couldn't be taken away from me. I was already low. So,
Yeah.
You really can't go any lower, right? So, but once I accepted Jesus into my life, that's when everything changed. I noticed how like I started having more peace of mind. Like my thoughts weren't chaotic. They weren't all over the place. I wasn't anxious. I wasn't depressed anymore. I used to have your days and whatever, but like I said, you kind of have that rock from which to kind of build your life on. And I feel like, I could be going through the worst season of my life and yet I still have joy because I have God in my life. So emotionally, he definitely plays a big role in that because I'm not an emotional person. And so emotions can be a bit challenging for me anyways. But because of God, I've been able to just gain more emotional intelligence, I'll say.
Yeah.
So,
And that's important to have. I mean, but also, and of course, I know helping, finding that, I almost call it like a funnel. You
Yeah.
can funnel your emotions through him because
part. Yeah.
He's the one that gave us emotions.
Right,
So
right.
if you can, like, hey man, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
Like I need you to give me some insight,
Right.
something. Help
Right.
me out, please. I'm lost.
Right.
He's gonna help you out, right?
Right.
But I feel like even and that branches into another topic that I talked about on my last interview with my cousin. In black families, we don't talk about emotions. I mean, we
And
don't.
that's the sad part.
That's the sad part. We don't talk about emotions, and we never have any outlets to go to.
Right.
So it gets to a point where you're like, well, hell, I don't know what to do. I don't know who to
Right.
go to for emotions. So, oftentimes we either turn to entertainment or, the negative reinforcements or we turn to God.
Right.
'Cause
Right.
that's all we know.
Right.
So,
And I think for me, it really helps to be able to have him to go to so I can just kind of like lay my burdens down. Because I believe it's Matthew 11:28. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. And that's one of my life verses. Like it's something that I carry with me because I get easily stressed out. If it's too much on my plate, I'm already overwhelmed and stressed. And so I think that really just speaks to me because I have someone I can go to just kind of let it all out. And then he gives me peace in return. Like, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, that's beautiful.
yeah, that definitely is a beautiful thing. And it's a comfort.
Yeah.
Not many comforts in life, but that's one that's like,
Right.
I know if it gets too deep, if it gets too taxing on me,
Right.
I can turn to him, and it's just like sometimes I'll be feeling like, man, but I'm a human, so this is my natural thoughts. Human, like, damn, I wouldn't deal with all this if I was God. Like, he's got to be tired,
right.
He's got to be tired,
Right, because we look at it from a human perspective.
from a human perspective. But I'm like, he's not us.
Exactly.
So, man, I tell you, if I had all these people, man, I need your help. I'd be like, I just helped you yesterday, didn't?
Right. But I think that's the beautiful thing, and it speaks to who he is, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's really beautiful. Now, I will say, I ain't even going to hold you. I got to be honest with the people. Sometimes God has been the cause of some of those frustrations and anger.
Yeah. And he'll
it ain't always happy-go-lucky with him,
but that's the thing, though. That's the part that I've grown to accept and actually start to enjoy. Yeah. God is not like people think that God's perfect because he does everything for you. No, no. He does things that you need.
Right. That
even
part.
if you don't want it.
Right.
That's the part that you need.
Right.
Like he does shit to me, I'll be like, man, why are you doing this to me, man?
Yeah.
Because you need to stop doing this.
Right.
But you're not going to listen, so I'm just going to keep putting these obstacles in your way till eventually you understand that you need to switch and divert your path. You know, so he's going to do the thing you need, not the thing you want.
Right.
And I mean, I'm starting to grow to respect that because even in life, with people, you have to do the thing they need and not the thing they want.
Right.
And a lot of people, like how you might, and I've done it before, you might want to spite God, like, you getting, why you doing this shit to me today? It's like, it's because you don't understand, but you will eventually.
Right.
You know, and I, you know, he gave me the blueprint, so I use that when I help people out, man. You know, you just sometimes got to do what they don't like.
Right.
And guess what? They might not like you in a moment, but they'll come back around and be like, you was actually looking out for me.
Right.
There you go.
Right. That part.
So yeah. Just
because what you want ain't always good for you.
It ain't just receiving his message. Once you can receive it, and he like I say, he give you the blueprint, then you can use it, and you can let him use you, and then you can go out in the world and help people.
Right. That part.
So, how did you find God in your life? Now I know you said you grew up in the church and you know your whole life and everything, but I feel like you know. For a while, of course, you know, being in college and everything, just living life, wasn't really a main focus until like your later years. So how did you, I guess you could say, refine God in your life?
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you asked. So, and I actually talk about this in one of my blog posts, but so I went through a breakup, you know. I know, you know, it's kind of common for a lot of people to be like, yeah, I found God through a breakup. But yeah, that's exactly how it happened. At the time, I was, you know, still dibbling and dabbling and, you know, like tarot and stuff. And I was kind of on the back end of that because I was like, this isn't fulfilling anymore. Like, I'm looking for something else. And I feel like that was purposeful. And God knew that. And that's when he brought my ex-boyfriend into my life. And he was very rooted in his faith. He was the kind, like, you know, for God I live, for God I die.
No
like,
doubt.
he was, you know, very rooted. And, you know, I didn't, like, I understood some stuff that he said, but for me, I was already like, all right, I already done tried that. That don't work for me. You know, I'm looking for something else. Yeah. And, you know, the first few times that we went out, it was on our second date that, you know, he was sharing, like, part of his testimony with me. And I started crying because, you know, it was just touching me. It was moving me. And I looked at him and I said, you were placing my life to lead me back to God. Now, how I knew that, I really don't know. I feel like that was, you know, God, like, speaking through me, because I really don't know how I knew what I was saying. But, so, you know, like, you know, we're together and, you know, like, he's like, you know, teaching me what it means to pray and introducing me to, like, scripture and stuff and what it means to have a relationship with God. You know, his family's very rooted in their faith too. But the relationship was not God-centered. It was very sinful. And, you know, if you're in a relationship that is sinful, God is not going to bless that, because ultimately our relationships are supposed to honor him, right? So fast forward to December of 2022, the end of December, we had broken up for good. And I knew that time was final because, you know, we kind of on and off with breaking up, but I knew that time was final. Yeah. And by that point, like, I kind of had a relationship with God, but part of my relationship with God was based on, like, okay, I know that my boyfriend wants me to have a relationship with God, so that's why I'm gonna have a relationship with God.
Yeah,
it wasn't my own
for
doing.
You.
So I was devastated. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna get through this, and so I turned to God. And so that's pretty much how you know, I kind of found God again. January 28th, 2023, I was baptized at the church that I now go to, Edified Church. Yeah. And, you know, it's been on from there. So
good.
Yep.
Hey. Well, it sounds like you, you know, it's not funny, but I couldn't find a better word to express it. Right on time. That's what it was. Right on time.
Right.
You know, even though, you know, like you said, the relationship didn't work out in the end, sometimes it's not the necessary, like, that's not the end goal. It's not to have, you know, that final relationship.
Right.
Like you said, it brought you back to God.
Right.
That might have been, that's the thing you take from it. And
Right.
that's something that I've had to do my whole life.
Right.
You know, it's like, damn, you know, you want these relationships with these people to last forever, but it's not, if it ain't right, you can't force it. And if you try to force it, it's going to go wrong.
Right.
So you got, and like I said, you got what was necessary out of it. And I feel like it's led you to a place of harmony in a way, you know, through your spirit and through your faith. So
right, and I did right after that breakup, I did a fast where I didn't like date for like 6 months, where it was just like I didn't even really like talk to guys as like friends or anything. It was just me and God, and that's where I really feel like our relationship grew because it was just me and him. I had that time where it was just me and him. So yep.
That's all right.
Yep.
Well, speaking of relationships and everything, we're going to get more into that in the next segment. But as of right now, guys, we're going to take our music break. So if you are new to the podcast and you've this is your first episode, well, thank you for tuning in. If it isn't, you know how this goes. Essentially, I plug in undiscovered, underrated music talent of any genre throughout North Carolina or any state. So if you're hearing this and you're in another state or another country, I don't care. Send me your music. I will, if I like it, I'll rate it. And if I like it enough, it will be the featured song on the next week's podcast. You can send your music in to this email, JAMMIEONEIL2 Send all of your submissions in through there. I will, like I said, rate the best one. I'll get in touch with you, and we'll get your song featured as the feature song for the next week's podcast. With that being said, this week's featured song is by none other than me, J.O.2. It's called Love Sick. I wrote this song when I was on spring break. When was this? 2019? I think it's 2019. Crazy story behind it. Dear God, I hope this man's doing better in his life. I was on the beach at Fort Lauderdale, and this dude, he, I think he was, I want to say one was an Arabian dude, the other one was Indian. And I was with my friend Jason, and we was on the beach, and we had to sneak alcohol on there because you can't have alcohol on the beach at Fort Lauderdale, which made no sense to me because there's beachside bars. So I guess they just want you to spend your money at the bars, but I wasn't doing that anyways. So I got this big old bottle of E&J Apple in my backpack, walking along the beach with cups in the back. And we start talking to these dudes, and this dude just starts describing me this crazy-ass story. He said, yeah, man, I'm down here because I just had a bad breakup with my girlfriend. And I was like, oh, man, I'm sorry about that. He said, yeah, man. He said it was fucked up how it happened. She sends me a video of her getting her ass cheeks clapped from the back. And I was like, what? I said, wait. So wait, she sent you the video? And he said, bro, she sent me the video by accident. And that's how I figured out what happened. I said, oh, man. You know what? But you know when you hear something so wild, you don't want to believe it. And I'm like, I didn't know what to say, so I just said, damn. Well, here, Barry, you need this liquor more than I do. So I just poured him up about half a cup of E&J, and I handed it to him, and I said, hey, man, get better.
Right.
I mean, what do you say to that?
Right.
But anyways, the crazy story. I mean, it was wild. I was like, I couldn't even believe when I heard it. But it gave me the inspiration to write this song. So the song is titled Love Sick. And I hope y'all enjoy.
Remember all those times we talk at the school. From that look up in your eyes, I thought that love was true. Come to find out the whole time you playing me like a fool. You got me love sick with arrows, got me love sick with arrows. I remember all those times that we would talk at the school. From that look up in your eyes, I thought that love was true. Come to find out the whole time you playing me like a fool. You got me love sick with arrows, got me love sick with arrows. You got me lovesick. It's messed up shit. I dreamt that you would be the one I share my love with, share the tub with. We could have been one forever, on some eternal love shit. But after the stuff you did, there is no more love, just cut it. I don't want nothing to do with you. All that time you dressed it up, you paint that picture so vividly. It was so clear. Devil in the sky, should've peeped how you smirked at all of my fears. We could have been what we would have been if you did what you said and been until the end. You lied to me, you cheated, you broke my motherfucking heart with all your deceitful ass secrets. Remember all those times we talk at the school? From that look up in your eyes, I thought that love was true. Come to find out the whole time you playing me like a fool. You got me love sick with arrows, got me love sick with arrows. I remember all those times that we would talk at the school. From that look up in your eyes, I thought that love was true. Come to find out the whole time you playing me like a fool. You got me love sick with arrows, got me love sick with arrows. I recall that time I got that call. It was 6:32, I got that call from my dog. He said, you was laid up with such and such, flexing on Snapchat and smoking on the Dutch. Inside the trap house, I called your phone. There was no answer. Mad as fuck I was, called you 32 times. Now I'm stressed out, like hot damn. What's really going on? So many thoughts that ran inside my brain. Seen the video of that whack ass fucker drilling in you, filled my heart with pain. And then you gonna look me right in my eyes and had the nerve to say that wasn't you. Why the fuck you telling lies? Remember all those times we talk at the school? From that look up in your eyes, I thought that love was true. Come to find out the whole time you playing me like a fool. You got me love sick with arrows, got me love sick with arrows. I remember all those times that we would talk at the school. From that look up in your eyes, I thought that love was true. Come to find out the whole time you playing me like a fool. You got me love sick with arrows, got me love sick with arrows. Yeah, you got me love sick with arrows. Yeah, you got me love sick with arrows. Yeah, got me love sick with arrows, got me love sick with arrows, got me love sick.
Yeah. And again, that was me, J.O.2. Song title, Lovesick. You can find that on my last project, Year of Emotions, on all streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Tidal, Napster. It doesn't matter. Wherever they got it, it's out there. So go check it out. With that being said, we're going to get right back into it. Now, I know this is, and you sent this question to me for this past Friday. So for those hearing, I just released the episode last week on the on my Dirty 30 Part 5. So check that out on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify Podcasts. You sent me the question talking about men leading, right? Mm-hmm. Which is it's a big topic right now. Mm-hmm. And it was men leading, but also a woman submitting to her man. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. So what are your thoughts on that?
So I'm always going to take a biblical standpoint because I do believe that the Bible is God's words recorded, mm-hmm. and I do believe that God's words are the truth, like nothing but the truth. And so when you take that standpoint, it talks about how the wife should submit to the husband. But I think a lot of people kind of get that mixed up where they think they just have to be a doormat, and that's not how it is, because it even talks about how, like, the wife and the husband are equals. Exactly. But God created it so that the husband leads. He's the provider and the protector. He's the structure in the family. Yeah. And that's what it means to be a leader. But see, a lot of men don't know how to lead because they're not submitted to Christ. You have to be submitted to something in order to know how to lead, and that something is Christ. So when you're submitted to Christ, exactly. Yeah. When you're submitted to Christ, then you'll know how to lead a woman, because you'll know how to create and cultivate an environment for her to want to be submissive. Exactly. Because if a woman feels safe with you and you're caring for her the way that you need to, she's naturally going to be submissive to you, because it's in our nature. It's in our nature for us to want to allow the man to take the lead. Mm-hmm. So, but that's the way that God designed marriage, though. And because so many people go against that design, that's why their marriages fail. Yeah.
So, you're literally going against the structure. Like I said, he's gave you the blueprint. Right. You're just trying to break the mold for no reason. Right. It doesn't make sense to me. It's illogical. But that's people at some level, right? And I mean, the way you described it was perfect, you know. And I'll say this from a man's perspective: a lot of men don't know how to lead, for one, because they've never seen it. And that's the thing, like the families before them, really, you know, our grandmothers and our grandfathers, you know, they were in marriages, albeit some of them not the best, but they were all in marriages, and they followed that out because they had that religious roots and background. I feel like my mom, she's just turned 43, so she's young. You know, that generation of people.
Your mom was that young.
Yeah, she had me when she was like 17.
Right around the age of my mom. I'm 41.
Yeah, my mom was young, but she you know, in her generation, they kind of started separating away from, you know, the roots in the church, and really they started doing their own thing. Which you can tell, because, you know, a lot of that has been a lot of, you know, there's not, well, I guess you could say they never got married. There was not a lot of marriage. It was kind of like, you know, they had kids with people, and, you know, they still have relationships with their fathers and the mothers, but there's no familial bond. So if you never see that growing up, how are you going to know how to lead a woman? You never seen your dad, interact with a woman. So it's something that I feel like a lot of people in my generation, there, you know, we're suffering from. But I'm here to tell you, I endured that, and I'm learning, and you can too, you know. Today it's just trying to be in a relationship is hard, man. It's hard because you got all of that on top of you. So you got people's personal problems that you have to try to be, like you say, be patient with and help them work through. And they have to be open-minded enough to do it. And then you got your own stuff you got to work through. It's not easy to be in a relationship, you know. It's never been easy, but today it's especially hard. And a lot of people aren't patient enough to do that, you know. So,
and I think it just goes back to allowing God to be the center of that relationship, because, you know, like I said earlier, like, you know, Jesus invites us in to give him our burden. So it's like, when you're bringing in that kind of stuff, that stuff needs to go to God. So it's not weighing the relationship down, and it's not causing you to, you know, like, of course, you know, y'all gonna butt heads and stuff, and some of that stuff still might, because, you know, everybody comes with baggage. But if it's to the point to where it's making the relationship heavy, like,
you gotta let it go.
You got to give it to someone. Give it to God. You know, I think a lot of people have experienced a lot of hurt surrounding, like, the church and stuff, and so it kind of carries on to, you know, how they view God. And I'm not gonna lie, I was one of those people, but, you know, I kind of stopped looking at it as like a religion, and it's more of a relationship that not only am I trying to pursue God, but he's been pursuing me. Like, it's a relationship, you know, I'm pursuing him, he's pursuing me. And I think it's also one of those things too, where it's like, and this is something I'm currently learning, but the whole foundation of a relationship with God is about trust and surrender. And then everything else flows from that. When you're performing for God, when you're doing all these things, all these good things, and being a good Christian and reading the Bible and stuff, that's all fine and dandy. But eventually you're going to go frustrated and tired, because it's like you're only looking to please God. You're not really learning how to be in relationship with him. And so once you learn how to be in relationship with him, then those things of going to church and Bible study, and it'll flow from that place of you having already been in a relationship with him. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's very true. That's very true. And I forgot to mention this earlier. You said something that was very spot on about the of the submitting part. You know, I feel like in today's society, like you said, people aren't submitting to God. I'm very big on, like, war. I've always been big on war. I find it fascinating. You know, not just the fighting and everything, which is cool in its own way, but, like, the ideologies that go into it and everything. And I'm one of my biggest and most, you know, liked sections of war is the samurai. You know, very honorable fighters. You know, very set in their roots, have a lot of morals and a lot of disciplines that you can carry through life. And a lot of theirs, you know, they have their own, you know, God, the Buddha, and different sects of life in Asian culture, but it all stems from the same God. But they carry those same disciplines that you have in the Bible, and it all trickles down. But that was a little ramble. But the whole point of that is, right, they have to submit to a master. Samurais, you have, you know, back then it was the shogunate, which was like the top dog. Then you had, you know, your leaders, and then you had the samurai who submitted to their leaders. The leaders submitted to the shogunate, and the shogunate submitted to a higher power. You know, it's that trickle down effect, right? You have to do that, and you can apply that same structure, that same chain of command to your life. God, the man, the woman. The woman's not below him, but she is a submissive to him, as you described, right? Because he has to be the one, and y'all both can channel y'all strength through God. Right. See, that's the thing. A lot of people think, like you said, that a lot of women think they're being doormats if they're being submissive. No, if you're being a doormat, you're a slave. Right. Don't be a slave.
And that's the relationship you don't need to be in.
Yeah, you don't want to be in a relationship where you're a slave. Don't do that. That's not submitting. That's the slavery. Don't do that. But if you're in a relationship where you feel like, okay, He's got what he understands where we're going. You know, we collaborate, we work together, we take care and hold the house down. Y'all compliment each other. You can actually be that submissive wife. And as a man, I'm telling you, if you got a good woman that's taking care of her business and she's trying to push you to be better. Now, I said this in my last Dirty 30. There's a difference between you pushing me and there's a difference between you trying to hit me. Right. Because there's the one's a push is like, I want you to be better, so I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna give you that.
I like that though. That comparison,
because it's true, man. Yeah. Some women they want to push you to improve yourself, so they'll challenge you a little bit. That's not question challenging. You have to be challenged. God challenges you all the time.
You got to grow.
You got to grow. Now, there's a difference between that and then you trying to punch me like you need to do better. You need to do better. You're not gonna beat me down and make me feel like I'm not doing right because I'm not doing it the way you want me to do it. Right. And I know women that do that. And if you're one of those women, if you for a lot of times those women don't think they are those women. If you don't think you're one of those women, how have your last couple of relationships went? If the guy's been telling you that, if you've had like 3 or 4 guys that told you, you crazy as hell, I gotta go, you might be one of those beaters and not the pushers. Right. So, you know yourself. Right. That's the point. But I'll say all that to say you have to submit to a master. Right. That's the only way you can grow in life. Right. And if you're not humble and willing and open enough to do that, you're going to stay in place. You're going to be stagnant. Right. So,
and I know that something that I'm learning, and you can even speak to this, respect is everything for a man.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so when you kind of take away his respect and his self-confidence, it does something to him. Like it changes him. So
and I hear a lot of women all the time. They was like, he was nice in the beginning, but then it switched, and I start thinking, okay, well, how did the relationship transpire? Did you start, belittling him, making him feel like he wasn't a man, making him question if you actually are genuinely in a relationship for the right reasons? And then if you start doing that, of course that man's gonna switch. His mind's gonna start switching because I never wanted to look at you like that. Right. No, I got to see you in a way that I didn't want to think. So now I'm not. You no longer. I no longer look at you as a partner. Now I look at you as in my mind, a combatant. Yeah. You might just be an enemy, and I don't want no enemies laying beside me in my bed. That's the most dangerous enemy you can have. Right. So I hear that all the time, and I think, okay, so how did the relationship transpire? And then sometimes some guys are just crazy. Yeah. Some guys you shouldn't be with them because they don't have all their marbles, and they'll just flip out and switch. Right. If that's the case, women, please get away from them. Right. But you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to say, at some point, did I go left? Or did he go left? Or what happened? You got to get to the root of things so you can figure out exactly where things went bad so you don't repeat those mistakes in the past. Because if you just don't think there's a problem and you just go to the next relationship, guess what's going to happen?
Right. The same thing.
There you go. So very big thing right now, but sounds like you got a good hold on it. Yeah. That's going to help you.
Because I know the truth. Like there's a lot of truth in the Bible and in following Christ that a lot of people just don't want to hear, and I read it for myself to understand the truth. And, I'll tell everybody, it's like, once you know the truth, it's hard to go back to living a lie. And that's how I feel with following Christ. I know the truth. I can't go back to living a lie, And I think a lot of people just have the wrong idea about, God and who he is and stuff. And I feel like it really stems from having a relationship with him to get to know him. Because, how can you trust somebody if you don't get to know them, right?
That's it.
And then 2, it also comes down to reading scripture because the scripture is literally like a revelation of who God is, right? And so, when some of the things that people tell me, like, oh, the Bible doesn't say anything about LGBTQ or whatever, you haven't read it, because it does, so it's just certain things people will say that I'm like, I can tell you haven't.
I can tell you
haven't
don't
read
know.
it. Yeah,
you don't know, but I'm not gonna sit here and tongue wrestle with you because it's pointless. Because you're set in your belief.
Exactly.
So I get it. You don't get it, but
right.
you got it.
Right, you got it. So I'm gonna let you have it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
Well, Daija, we're coming up on our last question. So what I want you to do is name one memorable moment that we've shared.
Ooh. So, dang, there's a lot of moments.
Yeah.
I will say, I think the first one that comes to mind was freshman year. I think it was my first semester at UNC Charlotte. You were a junior, because you were always like 2 grades ahead of me. 2 grades,
yeah, I was a junior.
Yeah. And this is back, I don't smoke anymore and stuff, but this is back when I used to smoke, and I had taken an edible, and not knowing that, when you take something like that, like, there's certain steps you got to take before you do that.
There's a delayed effect.
So I'm like, brother, it was crazy, because I remember laying in bed. I was like drooling. Like, it was just crazy. I felt just sick and dizzy. And so I called Jay. I'm like, Jay, listen, like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what this brownie done did to me. I need you to come get me.
Absolutely.
So Jay come get me. He talking about, I think we was in the car, and I forgot what it was that you said, but you said something to this day that still just makes me laugh when I think about it. But once we got back to your apartment, you're like, just lay down, drink some water, you'll be all right. Bro, I felt so sick. And I told him, I was like, listen, I think I need to go to the emergency room. I can't do this no more. So we go to the emergency room. They stick an IV in me, and they're just like, you're just dehydrated.
Yeah.
And so that was crazy. But I say that because, you always been someone that's just been there for me. Like, if I call you, like, hey, I need help with this, or even you come to my exhibition, like, you just always been there for me. So, it's one of those things that, when you have someone like that in your life, like, even if y'all may not talk all the time or whatever, but, you can always just call on, like, and vice versa. Like, it sticks with you, because, you got a friend for life. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
You've always been a good friend, man. And like I say, I've dealt with enough shit people to know good people from the difference, So that's why, like, I was like, okay, this is a good woman, She's a good person, and those are people like that you want in your life. Like I say, we may not talk all the time, and I got people I ain't talked to in years, but I call them up today, and I'm like, what's good with you, man? How you doing? It's always, we're on good terms,
right?
Because like I say, I keep good people in my life, man. So yeah, I just that's crazy, because I thought about that actually, like, last month. I was like, man, Daija was on the couch higher than a kite. I didn't know, so you was dehydrated.
Yeah, because they stuck that butterfly catheter in me, and they like ran fluids through my body and that's what brought the high down.
That makes sense.
Man, I was nervous too, because my mom, she did get a bill for an emergency room. I had to lie.
Yeah.
I lied because, I did not want my mom to know that I smoked, because I know how she felt about it. But I lied, and I was like, yeah, this guy was going around passing out cookies, and I took one, and, he got expelled, and she believed it. I mean, I hate lying to my mom. If you ever hear this, well, now you know the truth.
No, you know the truth, Mom, but it's like, at the time, I just
I'm sorry, Mama.
At the time, I just couldn't tell you.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, but no, but like you said, man, I knew when you called me, you was like, Jay, I need help. I was like, okay, she needs some help, so you got to help her out,
right?
And like I said, I've only ever taken one edible, and they are stronger than regular marijuana, and I'm gonna tell you, they are nothing to play with, because you'll think, oh, nothing, if this shit's not working, then you'll take
That's
2 more.
That's when you get,
and then 30, 40 hour later, you're like, oh, okay, and that's the first one that hit you. Then 2 hit you. Then 3. Now you're like, oh man, shit's not right.
Yeah, and I ate that whole brownie, like, cause you wouldn't think it was that big,
but it's.
And then I was eating it on an empty stomach too.
Oh, and that's what.
So
that's
I took a bite, and I was like, well, there's not that much left. Took the whole brownie. It set in fast too. It was within like 25 minutes. I was like, I'm feeling good. Then I started feeling terrible. So yeah, never again.
No.
That was awful.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Well, like I said, I'm always there, and that's something I pride myself on. I'm gonna always be there if I can for my friends.
Right.
Absolutely, that's a great memory.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, this is the last question. Daija, you've been a great guest. Again, thank you for coming out because this has been a great episode. This is an episode, we usually like to keep it dirty, but this one we wanted to talk about some more real topics, So instead of being too dirty and down, we want to keep it. We want to keep it above surface.
Godly.
We want to keep it godly today. Where do you see your life headed in the next 10 years? Just anything. I mean, it doesn't have to be a set plan, of course, because I know you said that earlier. You don't have a plan right now, but just where could you see yourself heading, and that can be in any facet of your life.
Right, 10 years. Let's see. I would be 33.
33, yeah.
So 10 years. If it was my own plans, I would be in ministry full time, which for me looks like like writing, making like ministry content, traveling, going to different conferences to like speak and stuff, being my own boss. I'm not working for no one.
I feel that.
Being married, might have kids. I don't know. That's a big responsibility. Cause it's like, you kind of in the prime of your life, a kid gonna sit you down.
But it's something that I feel like, and that's something I probably should have put that in there. Well, it's something that at 33 might be a little more feasible because you'll have a flow going by you, So, absolutely.
Yeah, but it all depends, But like I said, I feel like I'm, usable by God because I don't know what I want to do, and I'm letting Him lead the way, and I feel like that's perfect because He can maneuver me however He sees fit. If I need to be here for a couple years, all right, I want you there. All right, it's time to go. You over here. So, but generally speaking, in 10 years, if that was my plan, like that's kind of like where I would be at. But like I said, God's plan above all, so I'm just following.
Let's go with the flow. See where
pretty much. Like it kind of feels good though, because I ain't out here stressed or nothing. But at the same time, it's like, okay, I want something that I'm working towards too. I don't want to not have any ambition in life, and I don't have anything I'm not working towards. But like I said, I like to tell everybody I was going through a quarter life crisis. But my dad was telling me, he was like, you're like at the perfect spot at your age, because he was like, this is a time to be messing up, and this is a time to be trying new things and figuring out what you want to do. It's okay if you don't have it figured out, but I think with the society and the generation that we live in, they place so much pressure on you to make it feel like you have to have it figured out, and you don't. So
I know. Listen, I talking to that one in there. I say it all the time. You're 23, 24. I'm 25.
Right.
You're not gonna have life figured out. You're not gonna have a house by 27.
Right.
Most people don't.
Right.
Unless you just strike gold.
Right.
Or you
or
have
the lottery.
Or the lottery. Or your
Right.
family has been rich their whole life.
Right.
So you're not gonna just have a house by 27. It takes most people. In today's society, the going rate for houses are 4,000 times what they used to be in the 1970s.
It is crazy.
Even 20 years ago, 2003. The housing market has, I think, almost doubled. It's at it's over 1.5 from what it used to be. That is ridiculous. Almost 200% more than it used to be. It's not feasible to want that. It's not feasible to think, oh, I got to have $1 million by the age of 30. No, most millionaires don't become millionaires till they're well in their 40s.
Right.
You have to work towards these things.
Right.
So it's something. Society puts a lot of pressure on you, and then a lot of these people who act like they got it don't really got it.
Right.
They're lying. They're just trying to flex because it brings in that attention. We're in an attention age.
Right.
So.
Because I feel like, if you really got money, you ain't got to show it off. You ain't got to flaunt it, act like you got it. Because, you're secure now. Like, oh, I know I got money. I ain't got nothing to,
I ain't got nothing to tell y'all.
Yeah.
It's something
that's my business.
That's my business. I don't want you to know. I don't. Right. Listen, and this is a question on my last Dirty 30. It said, what would you do if you won the lottery? I would tell nobody. Right. Not for 6 months. You would not know I was rich. You would not know. I would still be wearing these same sweatpants that I be wearing, the sweatsuits and everything I like. Might have a new one, but it wouldn't be nothing crazy.
Right. Might have a new one.
I might have a new one, but it ain't gonna be nothing crazy. It ain't gonna be no designer. That's not me.
Yeah.
I'm not getting a new car because I have a car that works well. I'm just gonna upgrade mine and fix it up a little bit. It's still gonna be the same car.
Yeah.
You're not gonna know.
Right.
Nothing's gonna change for 6 months.
It's pointless. Like you went out and buying all this stuff for what?
For what? Just because I can do it now.
Right.
That's not the reason to do it.
And I'll say this too. I think ultimately, and a dear friend of mine told me this, and it stuck with me to this day. But she said the ultimate goal in life should be to be content. It shouldn't be to be happy, because happiness is fleeting.
Yeah.
It should be to be content. If you're content with what you have, then you're good.
Yeah, a lot of people, but then in especially in Western society in America, being content is looked at as being complacent or being stagnant, and it's not the same.
Exactly,
it's not the same.
And it's sad. It's really sad.
It is sad because, listen, if you have $20 million, you don't need more money. You know what I'm saying? You have all you'll ever need.
Right.
If you had $20 million and no one to share that with, what do you have?
Right.
Because
tomorrow's not promised either. So you could win a lottery one day and be gone the next.
And die the next.
What?
Can't do nothing with it. But you know what I do got? I got a family that loves me.
Exactly.
And they've loved me forever.
Come on, Jay.
Come on now.
Preach.
You know what I'm saying? That's how I weigh, my success in life.
Yeah.
If your family love you at every level I'm talking about, from the bottom to the top, then you're accomplishing things in life that was meant to be accomplished. The rest of that stuff is just stuff that we created as humans. It comes, it goes, but your love's eternal. So.
Right.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, Daija, this concludes your segment on the We Keep It Dirty podcast. I appreciate you coming out.
No doubt.
This was a really good conversation, and I feel like if people tune in and they listen, this could help out a lot of people going forward in life.
I hope so. A
lot of gems was dropped.
Right. Praise God. Praise Jesus.
Absolutely.
All of that.
Well, now guys, like I said, this concludes. Then what episode is it? I think this is either 10 or 11. This might be the 11th episode. I mean, we're rolling through these things, guys. We've been doing it. I've been consistent. We've been keeping it going. I'm looking for new guests, people that got interesting stories. Like I say, if you want to be on the podcast, the email JAMMIONEIL2@gmail.com. Send in a synopsis of your life story, why you want to be on the podcast, and where you think we could go with that episode, and I'll come up with some questions, and we'll get it rolling, man. I want to hear your story, so send it in to me. Absolutely. Again, have a blessed and lovely day, and y'all stay safe. Peace.
The dirty's in the air, boy. Don't be scared. We be that dirty. We be that dirty. We be that dirty.